Hey everybody, it's Steve. Welcome back. Today we're up in my bathroom and we're going to deal with a Delta Diamond Seal two-handle faucet that has a leak. Now, it doesn't leak from the faucet itself actually, but it leaks from the base of the two handles. Both sides are leaking, and not only that, but because of the hard water here, we have some hard water staining down at the base, as you can see here. So we're going to replace the cartridges inside each handle. And that is something that even I can do. Okay, before you get started, make sure you have all the tools that you'll need or potentially will need for this job. So number one, most importantly, you will need a wrench of some sort, and this wrench must span at least 1 inch. That's the size of the nut that we're going to be removing. So this is what they call a spanner wrench or a crescent wrench. You might be able to get away with a pair of channel locks. Again, they have to span 1 inch. You also have to have some sort of way to get the set screw out. The set screw, in this case, is a little hexagonal screw. I used a Torx screwdriver bit. It's a number 10. You can also get away with a Allen wrench. This particular little tool here has all kinds of different sizes. The size you'll need is 3/32. You might potentially need a pair of vice grips, and I mean, hopefully you don't need these. I use these because one of the handles actually got stuck and started spinning everything, and I needed to hold it, and I only had myself. I didn't have a partner. If you have a partner, you can have a partner help you out. Also got some grease. I put this grease on the threads of the handle when I was finished. That helps next time to unscrew the nut. And then of course you want to get the right parts. This video is for the Diamond Seal Delta faucet, and it uses the RP60400. You can't use the one that looks like you can use on Amazon where it's the two-handle faucet. This is a two-handle faucet, but it's the Diamond Seal, so you have to have the special one. All right, and that should pretty much do it. Oh, one other thing you might need is a little pin. We have a little rubber grommet that we need to remove, and I use this pin to just kind of pop it out of there. All right, hopefully you have all those things, and now let's get started. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do is to make sure the water is turned off. Now you have two choices. You can either go out to the main, which I'm going to do, and we're going to shut that off. Or you can go under the sink, and there's two knobs down there, a hot and a cold. Now, I don't like doing it under the sink because sometimes, especially in older houses, those knobs haven't been turned for a while, and they'll end up leaking after you're done. So, up to you. If you feel good about it, go ahead and go under the sink. It's certainly easier. You don't have to turn the water off for the whole house. But, like I said, I'm going to go outside and shut it off out there. So, let's go and do that. All right, we've turned off the water. Let's just confirm that. Turn our knobs to make sure. I know that this is the open, so obviously no water is coming out. All right, the next thing I want to do, once we've confirmed that, is to close the drain because we're going to be working with some small parts. So I don't want them to go down the drain, so I will pull this up, or I can push down on the thing here in the sink. All right, so next we need to get this little red piece out. It's a little red plastic piece that designates the hot side, and there'll be a similar one on the blue. On the cold side, and it'll be blue. So to do that, I'm just going to use this little thumbtack, and I'm just going to work it in there as minimally as I can, right on the edge, and pull it forward, trying not to damage it, and there it is. All right, I'm going to set that here on this ledge so I don't lose it. All right, next we need our number 10 hex nut driver, so I will grab my little set here, get number 10, put it on my driver. And then it's just right in this little hole here, and you'll be turning to the left counterclockwise, and you're going to pull that screw all the way out. All right, there it is. So I'll set that up there as well. And at this point, the handle should just lift right off. There it is. All right, now I had a lot of hard water build up around here, so I'm going to take some vinegar. This is just straight vinegar. Might be diluted with a little bit of water, but mostly vinegar. I'm going to spray that around the outside here and on the handle itself to give it a chance to work its magic. And then we'll wipe it off so that when we're all done here, we have also eliminated our hard water stain. Okay? All right, next we're going to grab our spanner wrench or crescent wrench, And we're going to remove this nut that is holding our cartridge in place. So we're just gonna set that on there. And to loosen it, it's a turn to the left. It shouldn't be too much. In fact, it's pretty loose right there. So there we go. There's our bonnet nut. What I like to do is take a quick picture so that I know what it looks like and how it's positioned currently. So I'll just get my camera here and we'll take a quick shot. And that way I have it when I go to put the new one in. And now at this point, you might be able to just lift this piece out. But ours is in there pretty good. So I'm going to grab my channel locks and I'm going to then just grab that and pull straight up and pull it out. And there it is. So I want to try to keep it again in the same position. So I'm just going to set that down right here so that I know that the new one is going to go in that same manner. All right, so here's our new part. And again, this is for the Diamond Seal Delta faucet. It is part number 60400. You cannot use a different part. It won't work. Initially, I ordered a similar two-handled faucet replacement, but it does not work. It's completely different actually, and a little bit more complicated. Not much, but slightly more complicated, as it involves another little piece of a washer and some springs. These two come as a set here, and they are different. One is for the left and one is for the right, and it's written here in really small print on the piece. So make sure you have the right side. So we're working with the left side, so that's this one. All right, and then we want to just drop it in there in the same way that the old one came out. So I'm going to look at that, line them up, make sure that they are facing more or less the same. All right, so hopefully you remember exactly how to drop this in by looking at your photograph or from memory how you pull the old one out. But if you didn't, what I would recommend is you set this up in the full on position, which will look like this. So it's going to, so you see this half moon part of the plastic here, and then there's this brass piece that sticks out. So on the brass piece, one side is flat. So the flat side will turn towards the half moon. And if you're looking at the half moon from this side, you're just going to turn it just past. You can do it like this, just past the half moon, so that the full flat part of it is in fact on the half moon side. So it looks just like that. All right, so with that we should be able to just drop it right on there. All right, so if you take your piece, and you'll see there's an arrow on one side, and that's going to be on the side that's closer to the faucet itself. So in this case to the right, and then we're just going to drop it straight down, and it should just land right in there and go flush. All right, so next I'm going to take a little bit of this silicone grease, and I'm just going to rub it around the threads that the screw or the nut's going to go on. Just set it up better for next time. Hopefully there won't be one. All right, this is probably a good time now to wipe down our sink tops to get rid of that hard water stain. So I'll grab my sponge and we'll wipe that down nice and thoroughly and make sure we got all our hard water off of there. All right, next we'll spin our bonnet nut back on into place here. I will just hand tighten that first and then get our crescent wrench and give it a couple more turns here to make sure it's nice and tight. Want to be careful not to over tighten it, but it should be on there fairly secure. All right, next we'll take our handle and we'll drop that down. Now, when I took it off, it was fully open, so it should just go on straight down like this. If you had it some other way, then it'll go back on. You can look inside and you can see where the flat piece is, and then line it up with the way you have your new piece set. That is straight down for me, so there, that's right on there. Then we'll take our little screw nut here in my hex driver, and we will put that back in. That holds the handle in place. And there we go. And then lastly, take your little red piece and stick it in there. Okay, there we go. That is that. So now all we have left is to turn the water back on. So let's go and do that. All right, you can see here the water's back on. It's spitting out a little bit from the air that was caught in the pipes. So let that run for a little bit to clear that out. All right, now that we have our water back on, we should be back in business. But what I'm going to do next is run a little test here. So I have dried both sides very thoroughly, and we're going to come back in about an hour and see how things look. Hopefully the left side is dry, and we'll have our right side, which hasn't been fixed yet, for comparison to see if we see any moisture on that side and just to see what we could expect. All right, we finished our test, and as we expected, we are dry and clean on the hot side, but we are still experiencing problems on the cold side, which we haven't yet replaced. Now, if you don't need to fix that one, then you're done. You can move on. However, we are going to tackle that cold side now, and as it turns out, there are a couple of issues that came up when we did so. So we're going to show you how to resolve those, including what happens if the nut is frozen or if you get mixed up in terms of how to put that cartridge back in there. We'll show you all that coming up, so stay tuned. All right, we're going to go through the first steps pretty quickly as we've covered this already. So number one, turn off the water, which we've done. As you can see, water is off. And then we're going to make sure our sink is plugged. So push that down, plug that in. Next, we will use our pin and remove this little blue piece for the cold. Stick that in there. There we go. So let's remove this set screw. Turning to the left, and there it is, and then our handle comes up like that. Here's one of the things that happened. What happened again here, this little washer thing actually goes on the bottom of this handle, so we need to make sure we put that back in there. Just snap it in there. It's kind of like a washer. All right, and then we'll get our wrench, and when I turned the bolt here, everything turned. Not just the bolt, but the piece below it and even under the sink. All right, so that's a problem because it'll just spin forever. All right, so what we need is another person to hold the nut that's underneath the sink, or I have a workaround that I'll show you that I saw in another YouTube video. I wish I could find it so I could give the guy credit, but it was a long time ago. Anyway, this works great if you don't have a second person. So you can see here as I do this, it turns the nut down below. So let's hold that nut in another way. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to climb under the sink, and we're going to take this set of vice grips and we're going to secure it around the nut that is up against the sink bottom. Okay, this is the nut that we want to hold into place, so either have your partner do that, or we're going to set up our vice grips so that it's the same size as this nut. So you'll need to set this up the same thickness as the nut, and then we're going to wrap it around, and then it'll snap into place. It'll be secured. When you're ready to release it, then you can push this right here, and that'll release it. You need to make adjustments. It's this little red thing at the bottom. All right, let's go down and do that. Once you're under the sink, you're going to want to attach the vice grips and to try to do so that you can wedge it up against the backside of the sink cabinet. Once you've done that, then the nut won't turn when you're on the top trying to release the bonnet nut. So with our vice grips in place, you can now turn the bonnet nut, and you'll now notice that the entire fixture doesn't turn like it was doing before, and we can unscrew it, and here we go with it by hand. All right, and there's our bonnet nut. So we're ready to remove our cartridge. We'll grab our channel locks for that, and we'll just pull that straight up. All right, so the next issue that you might run into is that as a result of this pandemonium here with the frozen nut and whatnot, things got misaligned. So what you're going to look at is the base here. You'll see two square cutouts, and those two cutouts should be parallel to the faucet line here. And inside you'll see a little plastic piece with a groove in it, and that should be perpendicular to that other line. So if that's off a little bit, you might need to go underneath and do it from there where you're going to adjust it a little bit. Or if you're lucky like I was, you can just take the channel locks and maybe twist it until everything is once again aligned straight across. All right, so before we drop our new cartridge in, we have to make sure that the piece is set up properly. This little brass knob here dictates whether the water is coming in or out of from the bottom. So if we don't have it set up right, you'll turn your water on and maybe it'll actually turn it off, or vice versa. So to set this up right, now we'll show you from overhead as well, but we want to turn this brass knob so that it is just the flat side here, right as the half moon ends, going this way. So it's half moon and then the flat piece just like that. So if you don't need the pliers, you can do it by hand, but there we go, it's set the way I want it. All right, now looking at the piece itself, you'll see on one side there's an arrow that points down. That goes to the left or towards the faucet. So if you're working on the other side, it's going to go towards the faucet to the right. But here we're on this side, so it's going to go to the left, and then we'll drop that down, and it should go straight down because we've set up our piece correctly down below. All right, there we go, nice and flush. All right, we'll put a little grease on there. That just makes the bonnet nut easier to take off the next time you have an issue. And then we'll screw our bonnet nut on, hand tight it first, and then we'll give it a few turns to secure it with the wrench. All right, we got our nut on there. Now we'll put our handle. We are in the full on position, so this is the full on position. So we're going to drop that straight down, and it seats on there just perfectly. I'll take my set screw and insert that, tighten it up. It secures against the bonnet nut, so if that bonnet nut's not in there, it's going to jiggle. All right, and now we're ready to check the water. Let's get the water turned on. Okay, we did it. Back in working order, and water turns on and off the way it used to. Okay, so if somehow you screw that up because you didn't have the handle turning the right way, then you need to go back, and you're going to need to make sure that those things are all set up the way they were originally, like I showed you. And you should be able to match it up with that photo, assuming it was set up that way originally. Okay, that is that. We hopefully won't have any leaks, and we'll see how it goes. All right, that's just about all we have for today. We've let this sit now for about another hour or so, and everything is working in good order. I don't see any new leaks. Got that hard water removed, so we are in good shape. All right, that is all we have for today. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. If you need any of these parts or any of the tools, I do have links for all that stuff, and if you use them, that really helps out the channel. We get a small commission for that. Until next time, this has been Steve for things that even I can do.